In Sorsha's video, she's very negative, very demanding. She uh, pretty much embodies the stereotypical like militant, elitist vegan.
Yes, we do have problems with rage and hatred and violence in veganism, but it ain't her. It ain't Sorsha.
Now, Unnatural Vegan wants to sit there in her video, and she starts out the video saying that she believes that Sorsha Morova comes off as a militant vegan. Is Sorsha Morova a militant vegan, folks? Sorsha Morova with her yoga pants video that plays every single time you go to her page. Is she a militant vegan, folks?
As she says in the video, if you don't have a core message that's making a positive impact on the planet, what the fuck are you doing?
You know, it's within Pewdiepie's prerogative as someone who doesn't care for veganism, who really doesn't care about the whole thing, you know, to say something like that, to call Sorsha Morova a cult member, to make her out to be this extremist. And why are we okay with that? Why do we not respond to that? On some level, can you connect with that feeling of Sorsha Morova's? You know, having someone pick out a piece of your work that you made a year ago, and then having the entire vegan community come down on you and calling you militant, saying that the way that you go about everything that you do is wrong and bad.
Why are you calling Sorsha Morova a militant? What does it mean when vegans jump at the chance to denounce one another as militant vegans? And in this case, there's really no excuse for it. I think it's dangerous if vegans are unaware of what the problems of militancy really are. I think the militancy within veganism, it has cast a dark shadow over animal rights, ecology, etc. It has created a terrible name for us in the press, in mainstream newspapers. It's a huge problem. But if you think that problem is represented by Sorsha Morova making cute, provocative, funny videos on YouTube, videos that are not to my taste, because I am not the audience for them. I don't enjoy them. I don't find them funny. But that's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. Why did vegans respond to this latest controversy by jumping at the chance to show how morally superior they supposedly are to Sorsha on the grounds that, one, she's a militant vegan and militancy is bad? Right? You're automatically dismissed and disproven. And two, because of their ideas about effective activism. Something totally spurious to Sorsha, totally spurious to her dispute with a video game personality with a particular controversy of the day. I really am apprehensive about this because I think many of my fellow vegans have lost any sense of what militancy really means, of what the problems really are. And the problem is not an aspiring actress in yoga pants making provocative and somewhat silly videos, exaggerating her accent, basically putting on what I would call a fictional character. Like all comedians, she works with the material she's got. She's obviously drawing on a sort of Valley Girl subculture that she knows very well. But I remain astounded by the combination of cynicism, self-righteousness, and stupidity of anyone who reacted to that video by denouncing Sorsha as a militant vegan activist who was discrediting veganism. Let's talk about a real militant activist who cast a huge shadow, who's still discredited veganism, animal rights, and ecology to this day. Barry Horn. Barry Horn. You may have never heard the name before, especially if you're American. But I guarantee at a minimum, all of Europe, the image of animal rights activism has been tainted and will continue to be tainted for decades by the legacy of Barry Horn. The fact that he didn't make his own name so famous doesn't mean that the reputation he earned hasn't had tremendous knock-on effects. Barry Horn died in prison. He wasn't killed. He committed suicide through a hunger strike. He starved himself repeatedly until one day he died. Why was he in prison? He was given an 18-year sentence for planting bombs, for putting incendiary devices in shops that sold fur and leather coats. You want to talk about militants? You want to talk about angry vegans being a problem, discrediting us? You're not talking about Sorsha Morava. You're not talking about Freelee. Not any of this bullshit. Let's talk about the real issues. Let's all do a little bit of reading. Let's get a little bit educated about what's going on in the recent past, what's going on right now. I mean, the videos on my channel, why do I warn so sternly against the pro-violence message that someone like Gary Yourofsky delivers? That's really dangerous in a way that Freelee isn't, in a way that Sorsha Morava isn't. Okay? If you want to talk about vegans discrediting the cause, you're talking about guys like Barry Horn. Okay? What did Barry Horn do with his life? Barry Horn first came to public attention in 1988 when he tried to rescue Rocky, a bottlenose dolphin, from a small concrete pool at Marineland in Lancashire, England. The Wikipedia article I'm quoting from goes on to describe that he and his friends actually repeatedly broke into this Marineland, to this swimming pool where this dolphin was held, to try to become friends with the dolphin, because they thought the dolphin, if it knew them and recognized and felt comfortable around them, that they would be more compliant when they tried to extricate it from its circumstances, to rescue it and release it back to the sea. So Barry Horn and 4 other activists planned to move Rocky, who weighed 650 pounds, from the pool to the ocean using a ladder, a net, a homemade stretcher, and a rented mini metro. Horn was one of a number of protesters who attacked an animal research conference at Exeter College, Oxford. Academic conference on animal research. They overturned tables and smashed 50 bottles of vintage claret after fighting with police to enter the conference hall. Horn and 5 others were charged with violent disorder. Sounds cute so far, right? You see what happens, though? It's a downward spiral, people. As soon as you give up on democratic process, as soon as you give up on public education, on what I would consider legitimate activism, as soon as you give up on, might as well just come and say, as soon as you give up on my definition of legitimate activism, which has been discussed in so many hours on this channel, if you haven't seen it, all right, use your imagination. I don't think I need to summarize something I've devoted so much time to discussing with you guys already. As soon as you give up on that, as soon as you get on that path of violent activism, you know where the path starts, but you don't know where it's going to end up. For this guy, it ended up with an 18-year jail sentence and death alone in a cell. In 1991, Horn was sentenced to 3 years in prison for possession of explosive substances. After his release, in 1994, a number of nighttime firebombs attacks using homemade incendiary devices took place over the next 2 years in England. Police kept him under surveillance, and he was arrested in July 1996 and charged with planting 2 incendiary devices in the Broadmead shopping centre in Bristol. When it appeared that Horn might die, the Animal Rights Militia, ARM, issued a statement through the Animal Liberation Press Office threatening to assassinate 4 named individuals and 6 unnamed individuals if Barry Horn should die, if he should die in prison due to his own suicide, due to his own hunger strikes. The named targets were, I'm not going to read them all out, the named targets were, for example, Colin Blakemore, a British scientist who studies vision; Clive Page of King's College London, a professor of pulmonary pharmacology and chair of the Animal Science Group of the British Biosciences Federation. This is threatening to murder scientists. He embarked on his final hunger strike on 21st October 2001, and he died 15 days later of liver failure. He had signed a directive refusing medical treatment and was regarded by psychiatrists as being of sound mind. So they considered him to be not insane, so they chose to respect his decision to commit suicide through this incredibly slow and painful method. The hostile media response continued after his death. Journalist Kevin Toulis wrote in The Guardian at that time, "In life he was a nobody, a failed dustman turned firebomber. But in death, Barry Horn will rise up as the first true martyr of the most successful terrorist group Britain has ever known, the animal rights movement. Okay. This is the stuff that has repercussions for us now. This is the stuff that has formed the public perception of what the crazy, militant, animal rights, vegan, ecologist supporter is. Okay? You may not know Barry Horn's name, but I guarantee to you, the vast majority of people who read the newspaper articles following this guy's adventures and his eventual high-profile hunger strike in prison, his death, his terrorist activities, to be blunt. Okay? The vast majority of people who read those stories in the newspaper wouldn't remember the name Barry Horn. What they would remember is, this is what animal rights extremism is. This is what animal rights activism is. This is who these people are. This is why you don't want to let your own children, if they're at college, get involved with any of these crazy groups. This blackens the name of veganism in a very serious way. Again, without Barry Horn making his own name famous, he's made all of us infamous. Any of you guys who lined up to take your shot to show how self-righteous you are by insulting Sorsha Morava as a militant vegan, shame on you. Let's deal with the real problems of militancy within veganism.